Yeah,
Thank you.
you said put it up, that's all.
I needed to make sure it was on the background. Okay, so does anybody need or want handouts? Because these handouts up here, there's 4 different handouts. There's some snacks in the back. Are we like that? Okay.
Yes.
So,
Okay, by grabbing handout.
yep, since we have such small, I usually just print enough for the group, but there's no one here, so have at it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we have, it looks like kind of a shorter agenda, but we forgot to put on there the balancing act tool, which I'm gonna show you where we're at. And so that'll take a little bit of time actually, so I would do that, probably as part of, well, depends on when you want to, we can do it after 3, but just 1, 2, and 3, I probably put quickly, and then I can do it after 3. So welcome. Thanks for your commitment. We are in the fun stage of you guys getting to deliberate, talk about things. So in thinking about that, we need to talk about guiding principles that we used last time, about how we deliberated or how you guys deliberated. And then, but I also want to talk about, how we want to configure the town hall meeting that we're gonna have on April 3rd. So, any questions about what we're gonna be covering today, the agenda or anything? Let's see. So town hall. So I talked with Rob, and if Rob was here, he'd be showing you on the board because that's what he did when I met with him. But I'm really short, and so I don't think it would be effective. Should I try? Or
I think you're kind of.
not just say
No, I did.
I can be your friend for those.
No shame.
so. So one idea is to have round tables, right? So just have round tables, and you guys all sit like one at a table, and people could join you at your table. So if you guys came to the town hall, I know you did. If you guys came to the town hall that we had last year, because I sat back, we had first meeting.
And she still asked me to be honest.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm like, we need her. What was her name? So we could have roundtables, and each one of you set a table, and then residents can come to different tables and have conversations with each of you about what's happening and what you guys are working on. Of course, we would do like an intro to that session, and we'd talk about, how we got here and all that background. And then we would open it up for conversations at the table, something like that, right? You guys can modify this. So that's one idea, is roundtables, which is more, I guess, intimate, if you will. The other idea is kind of a panel, so you guys might like sit at the front and be the panel group of experts, if you will, or the task force people in the panel, and then everybody else sits, in the audience. So then that provides an opportunity for everybody to hear every question, every conversation. There's, mixed messaging. Everybody's hearing the same thing because that you each are speaking one at a time to the whole group. Might make people a little more fearful to ask questions in a big group setting. But again, it's, there's the option of, people being fearful, but people hearing the same message and not just the same message, but hearing a question someone else asked that maybe, somebody asked a question at Vin's table is really great, but nobody else hears it. So it's only at Vin's table. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but I'm opening it up to those 2 options, roundtables or panel. Or the town hall.
I'm concerned in general with the model, and I'll just throw it out there, and others may not have this concern. But we're not experts in this content. And I think there are community members who may be more engaged for longer with these sorts of topics with the city. And to have us serve as the experts or the spokespeople for this work versus the city speaking about it.
We'd be there too.
Yeah, you'd be there too, but that's not really the same thing. it just, my discomfort is that if we are treated as some form of content experts, that we're not. The city is, and what I could see happening, let's say it's even the panel version, which I would prefer, myself, is a question be asked and Rob to be the only one to know how to answer it successfully. And so in a way, we're kind of sitting up there as, you know, a panel of non-experts while everything gets deferred to Rob. So that's a first thought from me.
I agree with you, and I think that's a concern. On the flip side, I don't, maybe I'm wrong about our intentions, but I don't feel like our intention is to be quasi-government official. I think it's just to share the process we've been going through. How did we get here?
That I'd be.
And I don't know the answer to your question is completely legitimate.
Right, and then you're taking their questions
Yeah.
back to the group so we can, or taking their ideas.
Mhm.
Rather than just like one person trying to funnel everybody's ideas. If we have a bunch of small groups and we're all taking those ideas and making sure either we're taking notes or somebody's at a table taking notes.
If it's set up that way, a round table could work. If it's set up in a way where we're on a listening tour
Yeah,
rather than on a sharing tour, I could see that working really well. And I could see that being more meaningful to the community too. If they have some structured piece of information in general that they can bounce off of and then come to each table or the table they feel the most comfortable with and say, here's my thoughts. And we take those thoughts back to this process. That feels legit to me.
yeah. I think we can share the guiding principles. We can share overall what the city's done with us for the last 3 months.
But I think you'd also be surprised, I mean, after listening to all the department heads speak and stuff. But I think there's definitely gonna be those residents that have been studying this for decades. But I think for the majority of the residents, you probably will find that you do know a lot more. You know, you understand the utility tech, as we've been talking about, you know, the different things. I think you find you actually do know more about it. You think you do.
Certainly, we've been educated, but I don't think that it's a good idea to put ourselves in that position, even if we are in a place where we feel like, oh yeah, Rob did talk about that. I think I can answer this. I don't think putting ourselves in that position is a great idea. Just because it's not necessarily productive to like argue facts. Like that's
not
not,
to argue, but just, I mean, like, you know.
yeah. So like, I'm more in favor of the roundtables because I want it to be more casual. I don't want to set us up on a panel and say like, okay, here are your experts. And having it be roundtables. And if we set the stage such that this is a roundtable discussion, we're here to listen to your feedback, and we can discuss like values, priorities, like the way that we're thinking about this, the way that we're thinking about the issues. That's something that you are an expert on because that's just your perspective, right? And so answering those questions is great.
Yeah.
If they start getting into the nuances of specific tax codes and legal ramifications and things like that, that's where we just say like, oh, you know, yeah, we've learned a little bit about that, but we defer to the city to help us know what's possible and what.
Right.
Maybe we could have information directly to the engagement HQ and the website where they can ask questions too. If there's,
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. If you guys gather questions that, you know, we vet the questions and figure out which ones should go on that site so that everybody, you know, anybody who wants to look there can see questions and see our answers, you know, which maybe it's mine or Rob's or whoever's, but I think that's probably a good way to also get more information out there.
Yeah, I really like that idea of share your thoughts, questions and concerns. There'll be a member of the task force at each table. You know, they'll be taking down your thinking and bringing it back to the discussions at the table, and anything that doesn't belong here will go on to the city or that needs help from the city will be helped. That I'm comfortable with.
For me, I agree. The two main objectives I feel of the town hall is one, inform. So, we are not experts of city financial tax codes, but we are the expert of the journey we've done, and therefore share that message. And I think the first half really needs to be more of a sharing of information, and I'm volunteering for doing the presentation of building it, but we need to really agree of what are the messages we want to share, so that everybody in the roundtable, in the little tables, has the same basis, the same starting point. And then I really like the idea of roundtables as well. But I would go one step further of, it shouldn't be just we're here to listen. What ideally would be best, and we'd have to talk of can we do it, is having those roundtables as a co-creation element of, we can either do rotating tables, but I like the fact of choose your table, and whoever you're gonna be at the table with, let's build something together, and we will have prioritized the feedback from this table, which we as members of FSP will carry back to the next meeting and see how we can integrate them, etc. So people aren't just saying, hey, think about this, but really building something collectively, and we can be there to remind the guiding principles of, this is good, but it doesn't necessarily match with the guiding principles. And the upfront section of doing really the communication, structured communication and messaging of why we're here, what have we learned, what do we feel is important that you should know too, and moving forward, what are the next steps, and how are we going to build them based on those guiding principles, with a reminder, of course, that at the end, they decide, we're only there to advise.
Some of that I like, some of it starts reading like we're providing some form of detailed, if not expertise, content that I don't think we would all necessarily
No, I don't see
communicate
that way.
in the same way.
Okay, it's interesting to say.
And I may be misinterpreting. what
Maybe
you're
for me,
saying.
the role of the person of us on each tables, no, I'm not an expert, so I would never want to put myself in that position, is more to be an informed moderator and help kind of facilitate a discussion for the table to build whoever is at the table, to build something. And we just happen to be carrying that message over. In no way, shape, or form do I want to position myself as, I know. I can at best be a reminder of the guiding principles that we agree together.
I like
But
that
that's it.
term you just used, informed, moderator. That feels nice. That's
Yeah.
a good phrase.
I don't have the background to be anything more than that.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, because we've got a little bit of the knowledge, but definitely not.
Right.
Yeah.
Context, I don't have it all.
Really quiet table that you need to kind of pull it out of them to kind of
Yeah.
get them to talk. And that's where I think being the moderator and just saying, okay, well, what do you think about?
Or informed facilitator.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Mhm.
you know, what do you think about reducing costs at the city? Or what do you think about these types of tax increases? Or how do you feel if the city wants to do an MPD, Metropolitan Park District, blah, blah, blah. So you guys might have to.
That's the structural piece, right? Which is, are we talking to people about the same stuff? And is it the stuff that the city most needs to know, or this group most needs to know to finish our work? So I think that was that piece where if we had some sort of structured element that we each moderate or facilitate from that structured element. And so I think we need to know what our outcomes are. What do we hope to achieve
Yeah.
at these tables? And
Absolutely.
then we can reverse engineer to what we bring to that as the moderation element or the facilitation element.
100%. I think what we need for April 3rd is, I mean, outside of just general alignment, is really two things: is a structured message in a presentation we want to give upfront, and also a structured workflow for what is the roundtable going to be? Because as we are going to have to be facilitating and maybe encouraging people if ever it's quiet, or moderating people if it's too loud, we need to have kind of a guiding track of, this is what we're trying to get out, and this is shaping an exercise rather than just having a free flow construction conversation where we note down key elements. But in that case, we'll be back to, this is the general priority rather than having actual co-construction. And I think the co-construction part would really help empower people and feel like they have been heard. And at the same time, us hearing them and integrating that in the recommendations we provide.
It also allows us, if that structure's in place for each of us, it allows us to stop what I call rabbit pulling.
Sure.
Which is someone who comes in with a beef or a concern or doesn't really understand the outcome of what we're all trying to do together, and leads a conversation someplace that isn't about what we were there to do. We have already stated up front and already know that it's our job at that table to make sure we stay on topic.
Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And we'll have the discussions from the spreadsheet for this week and next week, kind of guiding our way through that also with what we've been discussing.
The other thing that I think of for this is the KISS model, which I hate this acronym, but you guys have probably used it for it. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yes.
Which I think is really a crappy acronym, but the concept holds, which is we have to keep the framework simple, the questions we ask simple. Everything has to be pretty simple and pretty basic, not because people are unintelligent, but because too much process confuses outcomes.
Yeah, definitely.
I was,
Go ahead.
I was just, depending on the number of people that show up too, we don't want, if 20 people show up and then 2 people per table, I mean, there's always the possibility of having more than one of you at a table if there's, only
Yeah.
20 people there.
On the tables.
Yeah, you can scale it to the number of participants.
We'll have an exercise to conduct, and however many, we'll decide, okay, this is a good group for 5 per table. And then we'll adapt on, there's only us, cool, well, we'll get a head start on our thing. There's, at best, there should be us times 5, so 50 people is something we can accommodate. More than that would be stretching it, but we could just add 1 more per person per table at a time. So in that case, we really need, before April 3rd, we need 2 things. We need the presentation and we need the exercise outline and what we're gonna do in the exercise.
Yeah, and on that introductory piece, just the providing of information or setting the stage, it seems to me it makes sense that that's just done once for everybody and then the rest of it unfolds at the table. Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we would present and we take turns, not the same person presenting, and then we'd split into tables.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody does the same thing once and then they go to their groups to talk about it.
100%.
Yeah.
I think doing it in tables, lets everybody participate. Whereas I think trying to make people like ask questions in front of the group and things like that is gonna inhibit a lot of people.
I
There's-
just,
No, you, please.
I just went to the North Shore School Board conversation for they're facing a $26 million budget cut.
Mhm.
And it was a conversation with the superintendent, so they structure as like, they have a presentation that I just give. They already set tentative budget, so we're at a different place, but it was nice to be kind of informed, having those presentation, getting to know the why, and then kind of what the thinking around it, and they actually initially was small table, each table has some questions, similar to guiding principle, some questions to think through. But end up, everyone wanted to ask the question while the presentation was happening, because that would just kind of like questions coming up as, so, that, it was fine in that setting, but I think that might come up if we're doing a presentation that people might, depending how many people, like if there's so few attendees, that might change kind of the format. Do we want to allow that? Like, do we want to be flexible to kind of do it and take it and go, or do we want to?
Having
More structure.
seen, so just thinking out loud and more than willing to be convinced otherwise, having seen sometimes some energetic participation at city council meetings, I think I want to capture the information, but I would rather have a presentation as possible with no questions there, so that we spend the most time possible in the roundtables. But since I don't want to lose that question of, oh, I'll ask it next time, and we forget that. For example, each roundtable could have a set of post-it notes, and you have a question, note it down, we will collect them, and either they will be addressed during the roundtable you have, but it will benefit other tables as well. So we will consolidate them anyway, and that will inform us to understand what we need to, at the very least, communicate better, because if you have that question, then maybe you have that question too. So I think like that, we don't lose the information, but we condense the presentation to as short as possible, so there's more time on the roundtable.
We can leverage the speak up,
Sure.
and say, so as we're gathering those questions, or people are jotting their questions down, if we don't address them in the roundtables or things like that, we should gather them all up and we should post them as questions with an answer on Speak Up Kenmore. And have that be like part of the program. By the way, this is what we're planning to do. So just because your question doesn't get answered tonight doesn't mean that it won't be available to you.
Absolutely.
I like that piece a lot. I'm concerned about bringing the questions back to the individual tables, because that takes us full circle to where we started, which was my discomfort with being someone who's put in a singular position of answering questions that the city may be best positioned to answer.
But having the Post-it note is great because you say,
That-
oh,
I agree.
you got a Post-it note? Great, I will take that. and I will go. hand it out."
Exactly.
You don't
That's
have
the-
to
that's
answer.
the version I love.
That was the extent of, that's why I wanted to post it note, because again, it's, we're close, if you have a question, if I can answer it, in my opinion, again. You're only getting me at my table, so that's all, I can give my opinion, but we anyway are, for any question answered or not answered, we'll consolidate them in speak up. So that there's a better informed answer provided, not just Edward's
Well,
opinion.
and maybe it makes sense, maybe not, during the session, let's say, oh, somebody brings me a question. And I can answer it, and it's a valuable question that everybody should hear. I can say, okay, here's a question for everybody, I want everybody to hear this, and I can then answer it right real time, everybody can hear it. And then maybe it'll spark other ideas, right? And maybe it's a broad question, or maybe it comes to me and I'm like, that needs to get answered later, right? And we'll come back to it. But there could be things real time that maybe it's valuable to actually have Rob or I answer for the whole group.
In that case, from a facilitation perspective, I would want that to maybe be so once the presentation's done, this screen stays active, we're doing our things. I wouldn't necessarily want to interrupt the conversation by bringing everybody out, then putting everybody back in. But if we had the questions of, oh, this one's an easy one, rather than having a flip chart which people at the end of the room won't be able to see, we could note it down on the big screen and like that. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll come. If I want to take myself out, I'll take myself out, but I'm not being forced to break the flow of the table. And have it addressed as well on speaker.
Print out something with the speak up Kenmore side. If they think of something later, think, oh, I wish I would have asked that. They can.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we've got, how many? We've got 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the third. 1, 2. No, we've got 2 more weeks. Well, we've got 3 weeks counting today. Okay, so we've got, I feel that in that case, we want one, and I'm completely ruining the agenda, but we want one of those either today or the next session to be about the presentation, and the opposite to be about the exercise, so that we can align and round up and start also voting on our own deliberations or the last session to have final alignment. But for the one just, so it's the third, and the week before that is gonna be oh, we don't have one on the week of the 26th, 27th.
It's next week. And then
Okay, so we literally just have this session and next session to align on the exercise and the presentation.
We have a meeting on, so we have a meeting on the 20th.
Which would be the presentation, which I think from a flow perspective, it'd be easier to focus on the presentation today to shape the conversation about the exercise we want to do, the roundtables on the 20th. And also align, because that's the only time we'll be able to align on a fully fledged presentation would be on the 20th. So we need to do the ideas now so we can align on the 20th and work on the exercise on the 20th, so we're ready for it.
I agree with that. Anytime you invite people to something, you have to create, and what in facilitation is called create a container. And that container has to be clear and safe, and transparent. So, we don't want to half-ass this, right? We want to make it worth the people's time who are coming and who care about their city.
Yeah.
And so I agree 100% that we do need to spend some time on developing this and being sort of co-authors of what it is we'll be doing.
Do you guys want to add a meeting that last week of March? Or are you guys burnt out of meetings? Need a break?
I think we'll know, I think I would know that on the 20th. If on the 20th we're not ready, then we would need another meeting. If we feel the 20th we're good, then I think we don't need the extra meeting. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, the other thing I want to push out is that I think we would like to be careful at this session that we don't spend a lot of time on Q&A with the larger group from the city, because even my experience, even at this table, in the time I've been here, is there's so much knowledge amongst the staff and so much curiosity among the member of these groups, of this group, that we lose time pretty quickly to that, and we don't want to do that with the public. And so I think that we really have to care about the timescales and the facilitation of this.
So I've been kind of trying to take what we've been talking about into sort of a, so I have 4 objectives that I think that we want to try to accomplish. One is to gather feedback. So as people have opinions or thoughts, we can gather the feedback. Number 2 is to gather questions, maybe not answer them as a priority, but at least gather them for us to be able to answer on Speak Up Kenmore, or at least address those in our presentations to the city council or things like that. And then 3 is to provide insight about the process. So that's where we share our perspective. You know, we've talked to all the budget leaders, we've combed through the budget, we've looked at all these things, we interrogated the police chief about cost savings, like giving them insight into the process of like how we've approached it. And then the 4, which is related, is to provide assurance that the city is doing their job, we are doing our job, trying to be fiscally responsible, make good choices for the community. So the first 2 are getting, the second 2 are providing.
I'd add a second prime for the providing is giving a general understanding of what are we thinking about and what is doable and what is not doable, because you guys only want to raise taxes. Well, we don't only want to raise taxes, but there are limitations to what we can do, what we can cut, what we can grow. And when we say we raise taxes, there are limits to what taxes can be raised, et cetera. And having that understanding of, even if we wanted to, we can go plus 50% on something because it's just illegal to do that. And having that upfront understanding of when you are going to use the balanced budget exercise tool, know that you can't just cram this up all the way up because it's not possible.
Yeah, I think, there's that balance of being tactical and saying like, these are the specific things that we can do, these are the specific things that we can't do, versus providing that assurance that, you know, we're trying to work within the bounds of the possible.
Also, we need to also start by explaining the why, like, you know, why are we doing all of this?
Yeah, so those are the objectives, is to gather feedback, gather questions, provide insight about the process, and give assurance. That I feel like those are the main things. Because there's been a lot of communication about why we're doing this. That's, you know, I would imagine that most people who are coming to this understand like the concept of financial sustainability, so those are the objectives, but then what we are actually doing. So the short introduction includes the city staff provides a short introduction of the purpose of the FSP. And so that gives that context, like, okay, level set, make sure everybody's got what we're doing, what are we doing, why are we here? And then number 2 is talking about how this town hall will work. And that's where we take the opportunity to say, these are not subject matter experts. They're participating in the process, but they're not going to be able to answer specific questions about taxes. Please, you know, you're free to ask those questions, but we will probably write a lot of those down and, you know, just explain like that nature and set them up for what their expectations are for the roundtables, and then really hone in on the Speak Up Kenmore and just really try to talk about that. Introduce the task force members, and then we go to roundtables. And then the roundtables, task force member each table, they act as informed moderators or facilitators, and then questions can be asked, written down on cards or post-it notes. The task force member gathers those, and then the questions that we do answer or the discussion that we do have is centered around insight about the process and providing that assurance.
The only thing that I wanted to react on, but I agree with everything, is just when you started with who gets to present the intro, as much as we don't want to stand out as experts, because we're not, or because I'm not, I would want us probably also to be doing that presentation.
Hmm.
And have you speak as little as possible, if at all. Because if we were to be kind of presented, hey, here's the FSP, but all the info was done by Linda, for example, then at the end, if I'm here at the roundtable, I don't want Edward, I want Melinda at my
That's
table.
true.
So I'd rather you guys just word them back and say hi, and that's it.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that as you were talking about the roundtables, and I thought, it's probably best that Rob and I are not at a table, and we are milling about and maybe joining and walking around and,
Not joining.
well, like question, and we were like, oh, okay, we chit
Not
chat.
sit down,
Then we-
Jordan, but
Okay.
stand next
Oh.
to Jordan.
Sure.
That
That's,
just that kind of going
Yeah.
around and being available, for whatever, but yeah, I agree, it kind of probably makes more sense, because why wouldn't people want to be at Rob's table, like everybody's gonna be at Rob's table, right, here in Springfield, so.
don't say, don't
Yeah.
but it also, the intent is this is supposed to be the FSP town hall. This isn't a
Right.
city town hall.
Right, and.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also think there's two whys really that are going to matter. One is, why are we doing this?
Mhm.
There's a lot of info about that. That can be very quickly done. But the other is, why did we invite all of you? And I think there's always a very important part to say to people, which is because your voice really matters. We can't forget that part. It's not as obvious as it would seem, and I think really, and that's part of the assurance piece, really, and it probably needs to be woven throughout how we conduct ourselves at the table, what we say up front, how we conclude, which is, we're here because all these heads are better than just a few of these heads. And this input process is essential to the health of the community, and you're the community. So I think we do have to, just remember the human element at all times, right?
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, we're not here to just come up with a plan and push it on them. We need.
This is about, ultimately, it's all about people.
Yeah,
It's about a community.
all in
and
this
it's
issue
health.
together.
Yeah,
Right, which is why they need to hear from you guys, right? So it's not us dictating,
Mhm.
because I don't live in Kenmore, so why do you want to hear from me, right? I just work.
I do have with you guys milling around the room or standing next to a table in facilitation, I did a lot of facilitating in my career. In facilitation, when there's people seated and people standing, particularly if the standing people are acknowledged as leadership in any way, there's a positionality issue and it's a chill effect. So, the opposite can be true too, which is it's a sycophant effect, which is you glom onto the leader, which I think you mentioned why we should present. So I think we still need to finesse how staff play a role. What's their best role?
I would be absolutely, which is what I, no, you don't join. I think if anything, the benefit would be you purposefully don't join. If we do have a question that we feel we need to solve within our roundtable to be able to move on, then we will call you. But if not, go grab a coffee.
Right. I've got my marching orders.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And we just have to convince.
Okay, go grab a coffee with him.
Come
And
on, we're gonna go get a coffee.
Take him to Diva.
make Eva stay for longer opening hours and take him back.
I think we can just, very carefully share. I don't think that needs to be your responsibility.
No,
That needs to be ours. Which is really just to share that we really want to emphasize that we're community members talking and listening to community members. And then that's what this particular event about. There's many other times for you guys to share your expertise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there really other times for them to have direct access to Rob? Like in this whole,
I think, so,
in,
yeah.
like, so I'm just thinking like, I just went to a school board meeting and it was nice to be talking directly to, school board, council, and that direct access was really valuable. And I'm wondering if, I know it's FSP meeting, but like for a regular Kenmore resident, like they probably don't know what that means, right? So in having somebody from the city, there is having a part of that introduction, I think is still important for people that like, this might be the only chance they get for that opportunity, because a city council meeting, just sit in there, you can't say anything, like,
Right.
when do you have that direct access to be able to ask questions?
Good question. Do we expect council to come?
No.
No, I don't think so. But I think also, anytime there's one of these events, there's always kind of some downtime at the beginning, kind of at the end of people are still figuring it out. And that would be a great time. I mean, people always come up to Rob and start talking to him during those.
You could formalize it. I mean, you could say, we could start it, run our thing, and then any remaining thoughts or whatever, Rob's here for half an hour or something like that. But I think it also, that's why the outcomes matter too, which is what are we trying to do? Are we trying to connect people with Rob? Or are we trying to do the work of this committee right now?
I think the latter, right?
Yeah,
I feel as though if the FSP and therefore residents of Kenmore are meant to build recommendations for Carla, for Melinda, for Rob, then the town hall is the opportunity for us to co-create with the other residents who are not part of the FSP. And therefore it should be a purely resident moment and not people who only work here. Focus there. And then there are other opportunities. There's the ability, there's Speak Up, which is a semi-direct connection. There's the ability to write an email. There's the ability to make an appointment. There's the ability to participate in the town hall where we will be giving the recommendations back to city council. There are many opportunities. I feel it would be beneficial for the sense of coming together and building a recommendation for the city staff, that city staff be as non-present as possible during the session.
Because I felt differently in the sense that I want to be as invisible as possible. I don't speak for other residents. This is their opportunity. And at the same time, we're not subject matter experts. So there's certain things of what the process, like we can certainly highlight some of what we learned, but it's also nice for them to hear directly from people that's involved in it. And another thing, like who are we inviting? Just a general email, like we need to reach different stakeholders in the city that may not read the top four, or no, they're people we should send direct invitations. We haven't talked about like, who do we want to be at the town hall, and the people that send the email, those are not going to be first generation immigrants. Those are not going to be some people that just not going to be able to write email. So I think we'll have tunnel vision if we kind of thinking who these are most likely people like you and me, that we don't represent the whole city here. So I think I want to be there to facilitate, to have constructive conversation. But at the same time, I don't want to speak up as part of this whole process because that's not in my place to do so.
I get it. Yeah, I think again, if anybody thinks I'm an expert, I will be the first one to tell them they're wrong. With that said, I think the city asked for the creation of the FSP, or the reformation, the band is back for the FSP. And therefore it is our job as part of this town hall. This is less a city outreach, and this is more kind of the FSP's outreach for giving us the ability to be the voice of the city at large. And yes, I think the outreach is really, really important. And therefore, the role I want to have is let's build something together that I can carry back to our group and then ultimately back to the city. But although the intent of getting residents connected to Melinda, to Carla, to Rob would be beneficial, I don't think we have enough hours in the meeting to do that. If afterwards they catch Carla, Rob at the afterwards, as everybody's exiting town hall, great. But we shouldn't necessarily structure that.
it's not our primary objective for the night.
Yeah, so I want to interject because it's 7:10 already.
Oh, I think you ruined your.
Yeah, and I realize we want to spend more time, but I really want to get through the balancing act, so I want you guys to see that. And I'm sure that, Jeff has some interesting things he wants to share too, that he's worked on, no? But I did want to say about this part of the conversation that, we are, and I was looking for it, we are gonna have another, town hall, like just general town hall for, residents. I don't know the date, so it must not be anytime soon. Ours is first. But we can refer people to the other one that's gonna happen, just to remind them or let them know, like, there is another town hall coming. It'll be a more general type town hall. It'll be like the other one that we did before with people sitting at tables.
If their questions are pertinent to this work and that town hall happens after our recommendations, that's a problem.
No,
Right,
it's
so
fine,
it would have to be before.
So,
Their
Let me-
recommendation would be for the next one that's happening in a few years.
so let me finish. So I'm just generally speaking to what Tiff was saying about letting people have access to Rob or whatever.
You mean in general?
In general, there
Right.
will be another town hall. We can let people know about that. And also let them know, hey, if there's specific questions you have for city staff, you can go to the FSP website and send an email to our FSP task force, and that goes to Melinda and Rob and everybody, and we can answer those questions there. So there is that outlet that we can definitely bring up in, at the town hall and say, hey, here's a reminder. You know, if you guys didn't get to ask your questions, didn't get your answers, you have something specific for city staff, this is where you go. And then they can get it to us before we wrap up the work.
Ideally, I do agree that maybe in the future that should happen before our town hall. Just like, I'm feel uneasy about it because I feel that from the equity lens of it, like, this is not kind of, it doesn't fit in what I'm thinking as being able to create an equitable way to share that voice.
That town hall wasn't related to our work. That's a separate city activity in the future.
Ongoing.
Yeah.
city
I
stuff.
think that's not necessarily what Tiff is saying. What I'm understanding is that the collecting the, or please let me know if I understood properly, collecting the voice of people who will show at City Hall is going to skew demographics of who is joining, and therefore we would not get the full, we would not get necessarily a representative feedback from everybody that is kind of more, not that we could ask
No,
100,000 people, but we would, is that what more?
Yeah, I think that the conversation, I mean, look at the room here, like, we're not representative
Of course.
of the city, and there's a reason there's lack of time, there's lack, no, I'm sacrificing every time we come here, I'm not putting my kids to bed.
Mhm.
How many other mom with small kids can be here? Not many, you know, I have a very forgiving husband that let me do this, but like, there are a lot of people that want to be here that can't.
Yeah.
So I'm having those conversations, and I feel like, we have to understand that, like, they might not be able to join the FSP, but it would be nice to hear, will be able to have the website up long enough that maybe they can submit comments, right? Like, there's not other method to collect some of those comments. So by the time we're making recommendation, we're gonna be making recommendation on a very narrow set of voices that we're gonna be hearing.
Would it help if the presentation that we'll co-create tonight by screwing with the agenda, do you think it would help if we put that on the FSP website? Okay, so we will ask kindly that you put that on the FSP website once we finalize the version. Probably ideally a few days before the town hall itself, like that, they'll have something to react to for the ones who are really, really eager.
I do want to stop a second and say, I'm not ready to abandon the agenda. Do something different.
And I just want, for the town hall, we will have the availability of interpreters also.
Just Spanish.
Okay.
I just want to add one comment, and I know you need to move on. I just want to support, what Tiff is saying, that there's, we haven't talked about it. We crossed it once a few weeks ago, but we haven't talked about how do you get to the voices of the full community, because the channels business uses or government uses aren't the channels that people with those voices use. So I think if anything, is there any way to communicate as broadly as possible to the residents of Kenmore in a way that they will receive the information that this is happening, and that there's more than one way they can contribute their thinking? It's not the best way to go about it, but it's really hard to gather that input, given the way our societies are designed.
So I will let you know what has been done and what else we're doing, and then if you guys have other ideas of how to reach people, you need to let us know, because we're just doing what we know to do. So obviously we have social media, so there's been, and there's going to be new things. There's gonna be a direct thing about, the town hall that's gonna be put on social media next week. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be next week. And it'll have QR codes, so younger people who like to use QR codes can do your QR code and go directly to the Speak Up Kenmore site. But it'll be on our social media. It will be put on flyers. It will go in parks. It will go in the hangar. It will be put around town. There'll be flyers with QR codes that people can go directly and go into, Speak Up Kenmore, and be told about the town hall. And there's gonna be a postcard sent to every home. So I don't know how else we would reach.
That postcard is kind of the closest we'll get,
Yeah.
right? To
It's pretty robust what we're doing, so.
Are we advertising at the senior center at Rhododendron Park? I'm kind of thinking that might
I
be.
don't know if that's on the list, but I would imagine so because we go to all the parks and we have a relationship with them in the parks. So yes, I would highly think that that is happening because again, we're putting them out all over our usual places.
I said something similar for Redmond and, they have multiple town hall at different time of the day. I mean, they did it not through the task force people, but from the actual city staff and then, the outreach to like churches, to senior centers, to, Chinese school, foreign language, like they're trying to reach out to a broader set of people, but I also understand much bigger city.
Yeah.
With more staff there, yeah, however many way that we can get out there, we can only do what we can do, so.
All right, so, guiding principles, did you guys get a chance to, read them and have any thoughts? What I gave you is the guiding principles, and then I also gave you, another copy of the, equity framework tool, because that kind of relates to number 2. On the list, if we wanted to make number 2 more robust or add another another principle on there. You guys all have copies and time you're good. Before that. So again, these 5 were a part of the work that was done last time and was included in, the write-up of the plan document, that this was mentioned that they followed these principles, so that's where they came from. So this was already a vetted list from before, but that does not mean we can't change it.
I'm inclined to add something about simplicity. That a simpler solution to our problem is better than a more complex solution. I think that there's a lot of confusion about where people's tax money goes and all the buckets and the color of money and the funds. So I think that if we could find something that was very simple for people to understand, that would be a worthwhile guiding principle. Shouldn't take 6 sessions for me to get it, which is not a criticism, it's a compliment. It takes me 6 sessions to figure out this much.
I think also something about maximizing financial impact, that one of our guiding principle, and that ties into the simplicity piece as well. Is that we're not here to cobble together 43 $2,000 gains, if we can find one $500,000 gain.
Which also minimizes risk because one sure thing is gonna be more stable than multiple maybes.
And it makes more confusion in 6 years from now.
I'm curious about a piece of number 1, that Kenmore has changed since it became a city 22 years ago. There's a how that's needed there, even just a few words.
And there's a 0 statement that we're not doing, they're before the A, so I don't know, an omega thing, where we're not here because Kenmore has changed. We're here because the macroeconomic situation of the US has changed.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think that we need to call out specifically. I feel like
That's
that,
all good for me.
Yeah, just say that we're adapting to
External factors.
we're adapting to the needs of our citizens.
Yeah.
And the economy we live in.
Well, you could shorten it to C could read community and economic conditions, needs and interests.
Yeah.
And then you cover
Mhm.
cultural and
I like it.
financial at the same
And
time.
are we talking about for the whole thing or just for B?
We're talking about killing B, I think.
Yeah.
And instead adding in C, something about economic conditions, needs and interests. And I was just suggesting, you could say community and economic. You've added and economic and you're done.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, because we're there for every reason except B.
That
If the
was,
state would change its regulations, we wouldn't need.
We wouldn't be together.
that takes care of the fact.
Will
that
this
we're
be
not 20
public or is this just for us?
This will be public because it'll be part of the report. That it,
I wonder then about minimizing the impact on low income residents. Is there a better phrase for that?
I think just saying like a DEI lens,
Sure.
you know, like using the DEI framework.
Yeah, and DEI is an acronym. I mean, equity is really what we're talking about, right? Equity. And do you have a different opinion on the language there? I always think DEI is something that is an acronym that some people just kind of, oh yeah, I know what that means and cast it off.
It unfortunately has a negative connotation in that climate too, so,
I mean, the city of Kenmore has the DEIA council, what do they call it? And has a DEIA framework and a DEIA.
Yeah, but so I think actually that makes me want to put it less. Although I'm super proud we have the DIA group, I don't want to tie it to, well, we have a DIA plan. Let's do it. Same thing. We have a climate action plan, but we're not doing it because we have an action plan, climate action plan. We're doing it because there is climate change. We're not doing it because we have a DIA group. We're doing it to make sure we are respectful of equity and diversity.
It's a guiding principle. Any
Yeah.
decision that we made needs to be guided by.
No,
our
absolutely,
principles of
but I would
DEI.
want, yeah, but that's why I would not necessarily call it DAIA, so there's no confusion, that we're not doing the guiding principles of the group the city built, but we're doing it for
So
principles that go beyond.
That's a good way to
This-
do it right there.
this says City of Kenmore Equity Framework Tool. So I wrote utilizing the Kenmore Equity Framework. Tool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Great, done.
Yeah, that's it.
What we got?
You just cut Jeff and I fighting for another 5 minutes.
I never get the knife. If somebody else pulls out a knife, I'm walking away.
I wonder if number 3 is our work. All right, our work is to bring in revenue and save money, correct? And this is about funding where we decide to put the money.
But by deciding where we cut it, we necessarily decide what has less value.
Right.
But we're not funding services, so if we change the first part of that to just say that we take into consideration in our process, something, it's. It needs to be stated to our role.
Yeah, consider the services of the highest value.
Or protect or preserve or something more like that, when
Recommend.
possible, yeah.
Okay,
Consider and recommend services providing the highest value to Kenmore residents.
So this is not, these are guiding principles. Like highest value is a guiding principle. High, you know, the goal is
Yeah,
recommend
no.
services, but like a guiding principle is we should
Agreed.
consider.
yeah, focus on.
Recommending services. That's.
Well, we are because we're prioritizing
We're
which,
prioritizing.
Yeah.
But we're not.
We may
recommending
recommend a
new-
service. We could recommend the hiring of a financial advisor.
But what's the principle? The principle is,
highest and best use,
What did you just say?
which is
highest and best use. It's a,
basically what 7, maximizing financial impact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
yeah,
So do we just want to change?
Well, that's not what actually maximizing financial impact means. Do we want to wordsmith her here, or could we send you some?
Honestly, I don't think it's worth, debating our time.
But I agree, seven is different. So one is, seven is ROI, while, three is, making sure that whatever investment is made by providing the highest quality overall. They're close, but one is,
So it
Really,
could be
it's really, the
provide.
statement there is kind of, the negative works better, but you shouldn't use the negative, which is don't whack stuff that matters the most to people.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna agree with
But.
yeah, but then afterwards, oh, you were considering whacking the stuff that had, no, we're fine. But yes, I agree, no negative, but that's the intent.
Number 4 strikes me as not saying what I think it's really supposed to mean. If I'm a taxpayer and someone says to me, you're gonna pay more because you use something your neighbor doesn't, I'm going to say, is this a democracy?
And it
Do we
kind of
all
goes
pay
against
for the good of the community, or do you pay to play? So I think that's worded in a very dangerous way.
I agree. It also goes against the DEI principles.
Well, yeah, but we're saying we wanna shift the burden of the boathouse to a group that's the rowers, and we want them to pay the 300 grand back. That, we want that burden moved from the general fund to the rowers.
Well, potentially agreed, however, by that principle alone, let's privatize everything.
Well,
And
so it's a guiding principle that we consider among our other guiding principles.
I agree with that. I just think the wording there is dangerous. I think we can word what, Ben just used. as an example
Consider the source of, or the funding source for services. Consider, basically, it's a consideration. It's a,
And maybe not even have the number, because that kind of implies there's a prioritization.
That's fine, I can change it to.
So I see a little conflict on that statement, and then with the minimizing the impact, we change it to framework, but I see where you're talking about. It's like, we're kind of, we're almost victim blaming some of the people that might utilize our services a little bit more, that, in some way that I'm reading that, it's like, it's not an equitable way of saying it. So I understand the intent, but I also understand the wording itself is not relating the intent is supposed to come across.
I think also, one of the emphasis on there is non-residents, so considering non-residents as users of our services.
That's a positive step in the right direction. I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, we
And that's more consensual, because there's less, high users of that service, because they need to. You are gonna put the onus back on them. No, we just wanna make sure that Kenmore gets the best they can for Kenmore. And Kenmore related.
Would it be helpful so that we don't do all this wordsmithing here? Because wordsmithing by committee doesn't
Yes.
work.
I know.
Like, everybody knows that. Would it be helpful for one or two of us to suggest some changes to the wording in between meetings?
I
I
You don't want to
volunteer. I volunteer, and I can, and if we can do a little bit online, it's just if I can send that to a shared space and you can all remark.
yeah, we have shared space
Thank you.
already.
Yeah, so if that, whatever you've worked on so far.
Yeah, I will say this, I'll put it on in the shared space.
I will do that as soon.
is that shared space? Is that is that just like a Dropbox where you download stuff, or can you open the documents? Cause I think that was,
Oh, is it that in full, is that what you're asking?
yeah.
Yeah, we've been editing all along.
You guys should be able to.
Yeah, that's why you put that document in for us all to edit.
Yeah.
This past week, right?
Yeah.
I put it
Like,
in
down
one.
there.
Yeah, you
That's
put
okay.
it at the same, Carla put the links, so I didn't
Should
get.
be this one, FSP files were shared documents. You guys don't have access to that?
We have access. I just wondered,
The format.
I like OneDrive because you can just open that in a browser and
Oh.
type, and I didn't know if that was that shared doc.
I think so.
I don't think I've been in that one. I've been, when we log into that.
Yeah, it has a different look.
Yeah, they're real different. I'm surprised
Yeah.
you opened that in SharePoint.
I don't know what number 5 means.
Oh, but you know, we can't just say cut the police budget 50%.
I think it was more the opposite of, well, I read this because of the including when revenues increase. It's kind of, hey, it's, if when revenues increase, we're not gonna, everybody's gonna have a high-speed camera next to their house or something like that. It's, everything will be done in moderation, is how I'm reading it. But thank you for taking a stab at what you're thinking.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind, and I'm wide open if I'm not on the right concept by the time you guys respond to it, I'm not funny that way. So in a way, is it about maintaining realistic levels of service and, maintaining, recommended revenue buffers? Is that what this means?
It's it's a guiding principle for your discussions, so, you know, how are you guys deciding? When we go back to the list, right? How are you guys deciding what gets a higher number or a lower number, right? A higher ranking or lower ranking? What is that framework that's guiding your process and selecting how you're ranking?
Yeah, and I understand that that is the purpose of the whole guiding principles. I'm just saying, I don't know what this sentence actually means or is meant to be saying to
So
us.
5.
Yeah.
The way I interpret it, based on what you said, is don't slash something to 0 to then put it back up to 200 as soon as revenues increase. So I think the including when revenue increase was in addition to help people focus on also when revenue increases, but it could be said before the comma, maintain realistic levels of service. And I don't think we should be, the guiding principle shouldn't be, you know what, for the next 2 years, no roadworks, we'll be fine. And that's gonna solve it because we'll accumulate money, we'll be able to invest, blah, blah, blah.
Is this basically then saying, think about the sweet spot to maintain services with no undue slashing and no undue beefing up?
I think
Is
that's,
that what you're talking about?
that's how I'm understanding it.
If you all agree that that's what this means, I can try something.
We can't get rid of the finance department.
Right. Right, but don't buy them a jacuzzi on the roof. either.
What?
Exactly.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait, it'll be in the appendix.
Perfect. Okay. Guess what? So I sent you, via your FSP task force email, a link to this, which is basically this URL code here. I sent this to you all, so you guys should be able to preview, which if you hit preview, well, I'll hit preview because I have more access, but, when you hit preview, the first thing that should come up is a welcome message. And it says, you're weighing in on the 2-year budget. And this is a budget simulation, so we don't have a deficit for a while.
Right.
So I just said, let's pretend that we're gonna have a 2 million, and actually, well, and I together came up with $2 million, pulled it out of a hat, said, we have a $2 million deficit going into 25-26, and we need your help. So, and the numbers are, basically, our budget is around 32-33 million, so we kept it in, everything's in the ballpark, but it's rounded numbers.
Word fictional might be good.
Yeah, where do you want me to put that? You pick-
They're simulated. It's not just simulated, it's make believe.
Let's do,
How about simplified rather than fictional? Because fictional is kind of, it's all made up.
It is all
Hypothetical.
hypothetical.
Yeah.
I'm in preview, so I can't do it yet. I go, oops, I can go back to, oh, no.
I think it's really important that
You are in deficit.
And this was supposed to go away, this front question, it didn't, so I'll have to, okay, let me go back. Let me do this, see, and we're gonna edit real time, this is why I wanted to do this, so, exit entry. So I can fix this right here,
Hypothetical.
I like hypothetical.
I like it.
Shackleton, huh?
My next plan, spend
Okay.
the-
So balancing budget requires tough decisions. We're asking for your input on how best to close a hypothetical $2 million gap in the 2025-26 biennial budget. You can use this balancing act tool to examine many of the city's revenues and operations included in its 33 million two-year operating budget and make some tough choices necessary to close the gap. Additional information can be found here. This links to our budget. In the survey, you can adjust unlocked revenue and expense categories, because some are locked, which you'll see, according to your priorities by using the symbols within each category. Real-time updates will show the impact. Submit today to provide your input to the city of Kenmore. Note, the survey only focuses on revenue sources and general services within the general fund. Other funds, including those for capital, blah, 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 are not included. This tool is for educational and informational purposes. Should I say only? Because usually you always hear the word only after that.
Yeah.
City council has not approved the options presented.
Very clear.
Not sure what a revenue source is or spending category. To learn more about them, click the I. I don't know why there's a red. To,
Trust and
It
carry.
should be capitalized.
oh, well,
In English.
but that's the way it was. To read a description, including examples of specific aspects of the revenue or spending category. So that's my edit mode.
Is this something you link to from another explanation of why you're running the exercise, even though it's hypothetical?
I'm not sure I understand. So when you open it up, boom, you'll see here, it should show up. Here it is. So this is gonna be this is gonna show up when everybody,
Can you scroll to the top? There's good enough, yeah, the budget simulations, right here. If it's specific to, if this exercise is specific to the work of the FSP, or is it not specific to the?
it is, you'll see, there's more.
Yes, I'm just saying that when you start out, your biggest why usually goes at the top. Why would anyone engage in a hypothetical budget exercise?
To weigh in on the city's budget.
Yes, but there it's,
That's
so it's
not what it says
it's not
there.
what it's saying. It's saying here is a tool for you to learn rather than a tool for you to advise. And what we're asking them is this is tied to the FSP for them to advise. And by the way, like that to learn about the city budget and stuff like that. I agree.
So providing input is the primary goal, but at the same time, we're also educating.
But
It's informing this process.
I think it's just a bolden sentence which needs to change. All the rest is the same. It works great.
I agree, yeah.
Okay, so the bold,
No,
Oh,
the
this.
smaller bold.
the budget simulation is a way for you to,
So I would just copy and paste the first sentence, a simplified version of the first sentence of why does the FSP exist? Of the city's finances are be put under stress because of inflation, blah, blah, blah. And then moving straight to balancing the budget requires tough decision, and we're asking for your input on how best to close the hypothetical. The context is the FSP, and this is what the exercise
do
is.
we not want to say this budget simulation is a way for you to assist the FSP task force in balancing or in their work or something
Yeah.
like that?
That's the concept, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I wonder if that big header up there is misleading. I think a super simple change to that could be meaningful too. They're not really weighing in on the budget, upcoming budget cycle.
I mean, the city council reviews this themselves as well, so it's not just for us, but it's also.
If anything, I would actually say, try and move this straight to way into council, not to FSP. We do
Yeah.
FSP's influence through the city hall, through the, not city hall, but the town hall. And this is their ability to, as you were mentioning, Tiff, reach out directly to the council. Hey, people better than Edward are looking at this. So if you want to make your voice heard, this is a great way to do that, rather than just, oh, Edward's gonna run that, who cares?
I'm wondering if it could say something as simple as participate in a fun exercise or, whatever exercise. On the city of Kenmore's 2-year biennial budget. Because that's what we're asking to do is join an exercise about it. Not weigh in on a real budget.
Well, basically, we are, because they're, as they move different budget categories higher and lower, they're providing their input of how they would do their budget. So they're one of like, hundreds of thousands people are gonna be weighing in. So it matters.
I don't wanna get into a big battle of wordsmithing. I just wanna say this was the wording we used last time and we got record submissions. So I did not change anything other than pertinent dates and numbers, but the core of the wording, yeah, was what the wording was. So I'm just saying that, and I think it's important, because to me, participate in and weigh in mean the same thing.
People are gonna spend about 3 seconds reading and move on.
I do like adding, I don't like this where it says learn about, I don't know what that came from, but I like saying it's a way for you to, assist, the work of the FSP. So I will fix this, but I'm just gonna put something in here now. FSP.
And learn more.
Sure, as a byproduct, but the primary, no, absolutely, but, and we probably should keep it, but the primary intent is
Okay. Cause that ties it back to why
why we're doing it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so go back to preview. This should pop up again. Go in, review assist the work of extra task force, to learn decisions, $2 million gap. All right, and then this first page of taxes will go away. I thought I took care of that, but I'll have to play around with that some more. So what people will see is I'm like, where'd the other side, but on my big screen, I see both at the same time, but now one's on top, one's on bottom. So, it's the biennial budget, you're in a deficit, it's 2 years. If people wanna look at the percentages, they can go on here. So our taxes are 25 mil, and if you click on this, here are the scenarios that the team came up with. One of the suggestions that has been talked about with Mike, I don't know if it came up here last time or not, but anyway, is a Metropolitan Park District. And that could be, so with property taxes, there's kind of 2 ways we could go if we wanted to make a recommendation, or we could put some answer to, but an MPD to create some additional money and help offset general fund costs, or a levy lid lift. So there's at least 2 distinct options that are readily available to us to help raise more property tax money. With the MPD, we could levy up to 0.75 cents or 75 cents per 1,000 assessed value. And it's quite sizable. So if we just did 10 cents, that's 1.4 million. If we did a 20-cent levy amount, boom, guess what? We're in a surplus.
In 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our properties are valued.
So there's the first one. That's an example of how this would work. Boom, they could say, I have a surplus. Do I want to now go cut something? And if they keep scrolling down, you get to. Rob wants me to change this, so I have a little more work ahead of me.
Doesn't general fund because it's complicated?
We talked about how it was done last time. He asked me to do it this way, but then once he saw it live, he didn't like it.
Cause the general fund isn't 30.
Oh, no, it is. No, it is, yeah. But it's just, we don't have any scenarios. Like in the past, we had scenarios. So literally, it's just like, oh, okay, city council should not have 400,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's gonna work real well.
Just gonna cut it down, whatever, and there's no details in it.
Yeah, that's the issue, is that we don't know what you lose or what you.
Yeah,
You
and
gain.
so here, there is information about what the department is for. So that we have that for each one. This, when, where applicable, it says how many FTEs are included and what else. An example in finance is a big number, 3.2, but it's, we also have insurance, which is almost $2 million, so that's impacting our number.
Not to ruin your entire workload,
That's fine.
well, no, so you don't know what I'm gonna say. Is it possible to have a breakdown of that? Because if I see, oh, finance administration,
Right.
3.2 mil.
Well, we're not doing it this way anyway, so.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
fine. Sorry,
So.
I thought there was
Yeah,
some
and that was-
renaming.
That was initially my intent, but literally there's no time. And I think that we told you guys, maybe, did we tell a lot of time that Brian's leaving, so my accountant's leaving,
Yeah.
and so. There's even less time.
So how is it gonna be done? Because we shouldn't be looking at this because that's not.
Right, and so I'm just showing you like. What the big picture looks like, so they would have revenues. And then expenses that they could either increase or decrease. What Rob wants me to, sorry. What Rob wants me to change it to is, by program, which is our service level budgeting is by program,
Yep.
so. Sure, it's doable. It's gonna add a couple days before we can get this to go live because, you know, it's more work.
Last time it was really prescriptive on what you could
Yeah.
add and subtract.
Yeah,
Worked out pretty well.
I think this, I don't know what Rob wants to do, but I think this is super dangerous. Because we don't know what the impact is. So finance administration, oh, you know what? I needed an extra 400K. Tough luck, you only have 5K in expenses and everything else is headcount. And so that 400K is not a full headcount, but you just slashed effectively one FTE. And now you have a surplus of another 200K that you're not allocating.
So the prescriptiveness of the last one, was it giving them a menu of options that they could choose versus a more open-ended process like this?
Yeah,
Let me, I can show you, maybe if I can find it. quickly.
Seems like that'd be more meaningful.
yeah, because here they're gonna cut down on things that we're legally required to provide, so it's. Then they're gonna complain because, well, you didn't listen, right?
But in any case, what we're seeing is not how it's gonna be, so, but I'm happy that it's at least not gonna be that, because I
so
think that would be dangerous.
The previous one leveraged the work that, that management partners did, because I told you management partners kind of gave us a buffet of choices that we could do. And so they basically just used those same choices so like, here are all the revenue options, here are all the cuts that we found. And so it was very much aligned with the work that we were doing and the options that we were looking at.
Do you wanna add traffic cameras? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want to cut the events? Do you want to, you know?
So
like-
we have that from a revenue perspective of sorts, or at least I saw that, what I don't see is in the expenditure
So-
section.
so here's last time, so, you had revenue and expenses and it said it was like $1 million deficit. So here in spending. Again, so wages were locked, operations were locked, but then we said, oh, do we want to increase or change human services contributions? Do we want to increase or reduce affordable housing? Do we want to add additional resources for climate action? So we gave
But-
specific
But
things.
the climate change initiative I like because it's a yes, no, and I know what I'm getting. However, the line above, contribution to human services, I think $346,681 is not right.
And what does that even mean?
340,000 is a better round number. And
Oh, I see.
therefore, if I reduce it by $6,000,
This was not, it was a checkbox. It
Oh.
was like, it was a yes or no.
okay, because
You know,
here it's not.
Like the city determined if we are gonna do a housing services program, it's gonna cost $200,000. So it was a yes or no.
Okay, because all the recreation coordination events, et cetera. that
Yeah,
I'm
this
seeing,
was not how it looked at
Okay.
the time. So,
Then I have no problem.
yeah, it was multiple choice. It was true, false.
And it should stay like that.
Yeah.
I thought it looked really well last time.
But is the date that this is supposed to go live precedes a menu from us, right?
Presumably, yeah, I don't think that we're gonna be able to.
The intent was to go live tomorrow, but now that the expenditure stuff is not what Rob wants. I don't know when it's gonna go live. Depends on how much I work this weekend or not. But, yeah, I'll have to look because my understanding, I hear what you're saying, Jeff, and I wasn't here, but I was given this email said, here's what we did last time. So that's all I know is they provided me this. So I don't know of any other model or how it looked other than what they sent me.
Well, the ones that are tick boxes are great. The ones that are plus or minus, I think are super, super risky.
Well, here's the thing though, remember, they're just giving us their ideas. We are just getting an inclination of where people think too much money is spent and where maybe more money should be spent. But we are not gonna go in and do exactly what.
No,
they're
absolutely,
saying.
but therefore, we're asking them based on, that we're asking them to do an exercise they can't complete, because if they say, hey, look, I made it by cutting this department by $5,023. Okay, but what's the impact? How does it change? However, mental health resources, a yes, no option, both from revenue and expenses, that gives
But
the
you have to
information.
tell them how much money it is. You have to give them the
Sure.
option of saying, they're doing an exercise to balance budget.
Yeah.
So you have to give them numbers. It
Yeah.
can't just be yes and no's.
But it,
Well,
Well, there are amounts with that, yes.
I think the issue is that if I tell you, oh, tomorrow at Safeway, I'm gonna spend $235. Should I spend more or less? If I don't tell you what I'm spending it on, then you have no idea of, I'm gonna spend $235 on groceries.
Well, I think it's worthwhile. If someone comes in and says, I want all these added services, and I'll slash everything else to get there, we're not gonna do that. But it would tell us something about, if they chose to submit that,
Okay.
that's what they chose to do. It's a sketch, it's not a schematic. But-
Yeah, sure. It's just the yes, no, I know what I'm getting or what I decided not to get. Reducing whatever it is by,
But as we know, it's fairly complicated to get to the what am I getting level.
I know. But so in those cases, it's the same thing as when we had the feedback from every department head of, this is what I could do, this is what we would do. I could reduce consultancy time, but if it's not quantifiable, then we probably don't want to list that as an option because we don't know where we could align.
So I think what I'm hearing is that the tool is a more detailed process to get a trended result. Right? The tool is asking for more detail than will be utilized from the tool.
Hey Jeff, can you speak to how you guys used it last time? Put you on the spot.
yeah, so, and I may have misspoke because it looks like there was, I'm looking at the content that we got. So for example, there was utility tax, so you could change how much, do you want to do it at 4%, 5%, or 6%? And it was a sliding scale for that one. But then there were other questions like the climate action plan. That is a yes or no. So it's you're either going to commit to spending $150,000 a year, or you're not going to do it because it doesn't make sense to spend $10,000 on it.
And
Well, so, yeah, but so that's what we were seeing, right? In some departments, I think we should spend $10,000 less for Parks and Rec without knowing what that
Yeah,
is.
and so there were specific items that had the sliding scale where it makes sense, like taxes, and others where it's a program. You either do the program or you don't do the program. And so we could put something on there like the fireworks. Fireworks costs this many hundreds of thousands of dollars. If we don't do it, that's money that you don't have to
Exactly.
budget for. And so, but it's on or off. You either do it or you don't. And so people would go and they would check their boxes, and then we would get a little submission sheet that says that the average submitted amount was X, the lowest was 0, the highest was this. And then we got submitted responses, clicked responses. So if people clicked back and forth, we got how many times they clicked.
Oh, nice.
And then there was open comments to say like, I said no and absolutely not. You should never do climate action plan. I hate the earth, or like, this is
I
really
love
important. Exactly. So yeah, it was helpful, particularly for those items that we were debating, should we do photo enforcement or should we not?
Mhm.
It was helpful to get that.
So do we have enough in your tools so far to insert some of those more specific yes, no, and price tag things? Or do we not really this
I
time?
mean, the big ones, I think we absolutely do, utility fee, the utility taxes, vehicle tabs.
Really there, so I wanna finish going through the revenues, cause yes, I have all that. And I just wanted to show you in the expense side, we do have your suggestion, so they can, if there's something they wanna elaborate on, they can add it there. There are places on both revenue and expense where they can add a comment. But people might not know that that's an added comment, might miss that, and so at the bottom, they can capture whatever else they wanna say. But they do have that option there. Let me just quickly go through the revenue side, which we feel is pretty good. So, we mentioned, property tax and the NPD, and then this little I, which was described earlier, talks about, our property taxes in general and the limitations. And then this tells you what the NPD is, and then if you wanna say yes or no. Sales tax, so the city increased sales tax for transportation funding. This is that number that we've talked about, the 0.10 to 0.2 that needs voter approval. So a 10% transportation sales tax does not require voter approval and would be $9.20 over 2 years. The 0.15 would be 1.4 and the 0.2 is 1.8. Utility taxes, should we increase the electric utility tax from 4 to 6? It would be passed on to ratepayers. No or yes would be another 800,000. And here's a little more information, and the I is a little more information. Franchises are locked, so they can't do anything there. This describes what it is. Gambling tax is locked. B&O tax. So should the city assess a B&O tax on retail services and other businesses? And this says we now currently assess a 0.2 business and occupation on heavy industrial uses. This could be expanded. So we need to confirm the number, but I think the number could actually be low. I thought it was too high, but need to do more work on the estimate. But that's again a yes or no. Admission tax, which you guys have seen, this was approved in the last go round. So as part of the last one, the city approved it, but has not been implemented. This tax is estimated to be 200, should be implemented, and it says it's on various rec and entertainment venues for Kenmore. This is impacted would be Kenmore Lanes and Inglewood Golf Club. And then yes, keep it, no, do not. And then that's under taxes. Oops, what happened? So fees locked, they can't do anything in fees. Governmental's locked. Other reimbursement, blah, blah. Oh, traffic photo enforcement, which we have a new number. It's only 225. Well,
Every year.
Per camera.
per camera per year, 225 net. Now that's for school. If we're talking about red light, it's gonna be higher.
Right.
Because red light is all year round. But when we were doing our estimates, we only were capturing it during the school year. So we were just extrapolating. It's like, oh, no, we're not gonna get it for 3 months out of the year. So 225.
Less.
Just
Oh,
your numbers in green you brought down too, right?
No, they've been.
Oh, you did it for the biennium.
Yeah. it's been
Gotcha,
financial.
gotcha.
But this just says 1 and 2 cameras and literally, but just so you know, if that camera happens to be a red light camera, it will generate more, but we have no idea how much
Yeah,
more
that's
it
fine.
would be, so it's a conservative number. So that's what we have in
The revenue
the
side.
revenues. It's not necessarily supposed to capture everything we've talked
Yeah.
about, but again, it's supposed to get the ideas of what's people's appetite out there. You
Yeah.
know, what are they willing to do at this point? So we're not gonna capture everything.
No, for sure.
It's,
We gotta get this up and
and
running.
it's communication as much as it is gathering, right?
Yes.
This is, hey, this is a tough equation to solve.
Mhm.
And so maybe when you're providing your feedback to the city council, instead of just saying rah, 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 cut, remember that cutting means no fireworks.
Yeah,
You know.
but so I think that's why the cuts, having those sliding scales of, you know what? We need to do 5% across the board, so minus 5% to everyone without understanding the impact.
Yeah.
Would be dangerous because it would go in the direction of cut. So if anything, if we can't put a finger, you know what, save yourself the work, just don't put the lines. No, but absolutely, I think so, city council was what, 400K, whatever. I think, except if we can say, well, if we do, your option is 400K or 350, and then 350, you don't get this, and this. Then yes, if we cannot put that in, we just have an envelope. I would rather just not have it at all than have, you can go 400 and then you can diminish by 5 or increase by $5,000 increments, because that is going to go in the cut benefit, and we won't learn anything. And I think the intent is to learn something.
Yeah, I think, so the input that you got from the budget leaders, from the department heads,
Mhm.
I think that's where we should just try to pick out a few, the events, anything that we can just say, nope, we're not doing fireworks, we're not doing movies in the park, we're not doing those kinds of things.
Mhm.
Like those are not, I don't know if that's something that we would strongly consider. That would be at the bottom of the list, but it demonstrates like this is our discretionary spend. It's like
Roadworks is not.
yeah, we can't, well, or you could say, yeah, we could reduce our parks staff, but know that means that we are not cleaning up the beach at Log Boom as often. We're not cleaning the bathrooms as often. This will, you put big bold letters that says this will reduce
I hope you
the
like
quality of service. And you come up with some number, and it's almost like a trap. If
Yeah.
you really want,
It's a
your
bigger
bathrooms to be
adventure, but
unclean, yeah.
Okay, so.
Hopefully that saves you some time as well.
So what I will be doing is, as soon as I have a new, spending plan, I will, I'll resend the link. The link is gonna be the same regardless, but I'll just resend it so you'll have it and know that, hey, I need y'all to look and let us know what concerns you have, if any, because we're gonna go live tomorrow, or whatever. So it's gonna be a quick turnaround. Y'all need to be paying attention because we gotta get this stuff out. We need to give people time to do this. So, my goal will be to get it out, by Wednesday of next week. So, see how much I can block off my phone. Yeah, so that's.
It's a great tool, super fun.
I know,
no.
My wife can't wait to take it. She was, when are they putting out the balance?
you can let her see a preview.
No.
No, so I was having fun, even though I worked a lot of hours, I was having fun because I was just seeing this evolve, and this is just so cool, and it's like, oh, change this, oh, do this, and so it's like, I'm not tired, like, go on.
It is innovative. I don't know another town that's doing this, and I think it is informative and educational.
So, okay, all right, 8:00. Two other things I wanted to mention is on the, this is, on the Speak Up Kenmore, make sure that we need you guys to have some examples. So as people now are gonna migrate, here for, and I don't know where we're gonna put the link. Maybe it's gonna be out to the side, but I'm gonna work with Lauren on that. But we'll have the link here for the balancing act. Right now, there's just some generic question or poll that, Lauren put out here. It'd be great if you guys would ask some questions and I could respond to it, and maybe it's something that's a simple answer for me to answer, so I don't have.
Can we send you the answer and the question?
Yeah, and so, yeah, they can answer in form of the question and we'll do Jeopardy. And so if you guys could put, something out there, to kind of get this, so people can see what it should look like, so they have an example. That'd be really helpful. And so, yeah, maybe there's stuff that you've learned here that you're like, this would be really helpful for residents to know, and I'm just gonna, the question out, and I know Melinda can answer. So that would be really helpful, and now that we have a few more days, but something to think about, is there somebody who's willing to either be like recorded or can report from home? Them, and maybe I'm gonna look at Vince, and I know his wife wants to do it, is doing the simulation, doing it. Oh, yeah. Get a recording of it, so we can put that like on social media and stuff, so people can see how to do it. And just show how easy it is. Look, it'll take 10 minutes, boom, and you're done.
She's perfect.
Good, thank you. All right. Okay.
Plus they'll get posted on Kirk on social media, so we'll have more distribution.
Okay, so that was it for me. Who wants this take, are you gonna take over, Jeff, or where we, it says task force analysis and deliberation. Reviewed shared document.
Yeah, I think we should open up what we have so far on the budget strategies.
Do you want?
Yeah, I can present them. If that's cool with everybody.
Yeah.
You're not going tonight, I'm not gonna be able to stay past 8:30. I don't have any little room tonight.
We will. TIF is in the documents. Is that big enough for you? Just kidding. Okay. See if I can go a little bit bigger and
I'm curious about the tax on solid waste. Is that applied to recycling and yard waste, or is that just on trash?
which one?
When they were talking, if they talk about like the tax on solid.
Oh, solid waste. Yeah, that's garbage only.
Okay. That's one of the things I would think of is like, can a person try to avoid the tax, right? So if you're gonna tax solid waste, well, maybe I'll start up recycling.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I won't speed through the school zone, I'll avoid that, different, what can you, even with the electric utility tax. I can control that to some degree because I can use it.
Yeah, that was part of some of our considerations last time. That's why we did a natural gas tax and not an electricity tax, because we wanted to kind of say like, well, if you move to electricity, then you'll pay less tax. So, but yeah, that's the idea. So these, I feel like these top ones are sort of the easy ones. As far as, what Melinda said were the taxes that she kind of has already done. And then these are the other ones that we discussed, but we don't have numbers for. Civilian parking enforcement, it was kind of, we weren't sure if it was actually going to be net positive. Event donations and fundraising, we talked about this, but again, no estimate. So maybe we can do a little bit of work there. Picnic shelter fees, there's the CAPE program and things like.
Jeff.
Yeah.
That's gonna have a cost associated with it upfront as well, right? So that's not necessarily a net gain either.
So this 68,000 was the net gain.
Yeah.
That is the net gain.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is considering the.
Per year.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Lodging tax, did we get an estimate for lodging tax? I thought it was like 200,000, 160 or something. And then these were, I believe, were added since our last, I think Melinda and team added some of these other items. So increasing the B&O tax for heavy industry. We have a B&O tax for heavy industry. This would be increasing it. That would be basically the concrete plant and lumber and those.
I was just thinking, however much, we don't know how much, but how much is the city spending to, monitor, respond, and document all the air quality and noise.
Yeah.
Then hopefully we can at least maybe,
Oh, is this,
Even
was
though-
this yours
Yeah.
that you added? Okay, yeah.
I put on, you know, at some point, it's like, it seemed like what Rob said, it was like 25,000 for each, I think company is paying it or something.
Mhm.
And it's like, maybe we should at least move it up so we can break even on what they're costing us.
That's fair. So, I think what I'll do is make this a little bit smaller. Um, um, uh, okay. Rental vehicle tax. I don't know. If you put these on, you feel free to claim them and.
It's gonna hit one company. It's gonna hit AAA.
There is a rental car company over there. They rent limos, they rent buses and cars,
Right.
and then there's also the U-Haul place.
Yeah.
And can we be that specific on the taxes too, is the other question.
I don't know what the legalities are of it, but it's one of those taxes where I think, like, when you go to rent a car, you expect there to be a whole bunch of taxes, right?
Yeah,
So. Almost like it's an accepted tax.
yeah,
Yeah, but you know, the rental company already puts the city tax whether there's one or not.
Yeah, and they're just taking, yeah.
and so we're not collecting full property tax on Spencer 68?
Not right now, no. And Carla would look at
I'm sorry, what was that?
that. We're not collecting full property taxes on Spencer 68.
No. Well, Rob described that because they fall under Arch, the, portable reason.
Yeah,
Well, housing.
the regional,
Coalition of
Yeah.
housing. And so they are exempt because of the number of affordable units they have for 12 years, I believe you said.
so this is
But-
not within our,
No. But he explained that that portion they're not paying is spread out to everybody else, so it's not like we're losing money on it.
got it.
So there's no additional, even if they were, it's not more money, it just means it's less for other people.
Okay. DNR,
Department of Natural Resources.
We're going with do not resuscitate.
There's a couple of marinas that are leasing.
Working in healthcare, that's the one I go to.
Yeah, so there's a couple of marinas that are leasing DNR property from,
You have a DNR?
and Rob wasn't sure if we were actually collecting the money from the DNR like we could be.
So you can sort of when she has.
Um,
DNR for a pocket.
Good point.
landscape maintenance and street sign maintenance. So this one.
Yep.
Yeah, as soon,
Public Works person had mentioned that.
yeah, so this is that's based on when the facility is available, right? When is the facility gonna be completed?
That's the operations center, right?
Oh, yeah.
PWOC.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah,
Well, I think it supposedly late 2025, but it's not gonna be
Okay.
2026.
so, I just hid those columns. Yeah, this one isn't really specific enough.
You can
Cost estimate.
monetize them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we need to call out, if we're gonna put it on the list and assess an impact, we need to call out specific contracts and some kind of potential savings.
Yeah.
Associated with it.
It's like the reduced use of consultants kind of comment.
Yeah, so
So is that in-house landscape management one, the thing that Rob, I took a note and it's not in this notebook, so I don't know where I've stuck it, but
he had said, I'd really like you to consider this. And there was something about that ops center that he really wanted us to consider.
I think he was talking about the cost of the sign maintenance and they were coming from Renton and King County to replace signs. I did look up like 2023, everything we paid that was under sign maintenance replacement. It was under 40,000 for the year, so I think he thought it was going to
More
be
than that.
more, but I don't know if there's more involved that I.
If I have my note, I'll see if it matches that and then.
Yeah, and it's just somewhat of a service level as well. I mean,
Mhm.
we're not getting the service we really want doing it through them. We could actually, it's would probably pay the same amount and to get better service.
Yeah, and I forget what else, but I know in Jennifer's presentation, she maybe listed one or two other areas of things that are contracted that may make sense to bring in, but until they get to their new place, like, she's not gonna know if it's even feasible for her to take over that work.
Yeah. Must be internet connection. That is the problem with live. Is it working? There we go. We're back. Maybe. Okay. I saw these Cape ones. This one was included above, so I'm going to delete this row and we'll just leave the one above. Works project manager.
So
So-
one of the department heads put that in.
Got it. So is there justification for allocating the parks project manager cost to capital fund?
Yes, well, we're already doing it with the engineering project manager. At $1,500. For some reason, they do it less for the parks manager than the engineering. I don't know why.
I think that's an assessment based on their time. But But-
Right, and yeah, I mean, I would say definitely, when I think about the person in Parks who's doing that and the time she spends on certain capital projects. Just. A good, at least it was, because there were so many parks projects happening. So yeah, there definitely is justification to shift some of those.
and what are they at currently?
I don't.
I think it said 1,400 hours and then the other engineering was doing 1,500.
Okay, so not a huge.
Yes, not a bump of
So,
1,500.
you know, if you say that the total cost of the employee is 200,000 and you're saying that you're gonna increase it by 5%, then that means it's what, $10,000? So it's not huge dollars. Advertising space, love that. Do we have enough, like, I feel like with the space that we have, this would be in the hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. I don't know what advertising rates go for nowadays, but
Off the cuff, I would say labor's gonna outweigh.
Yeah.
Revenue.
yeah. Utility permit fees, what, I don't know what these are.
One of the department people put that on there.
Um,
I think that was a question, if that could be even done. I mean, I think there would have to be research. That's not an easy number to get. I think that was, is it legal? It was kind of a off the cuff.
Yeah.
Throw out there for an idea.
fair. We did talk about this one.
If you're noting staff time on some of those, this would probably be a big one for that.
Yeah, we have contacted AWC and then there's, yes.
Oh,
And-
yeah, we heard from AWC, but we have to provide a bunch of historical information, but we are
Okay.
researching it.
May not
It's underway.
happen in time for something that takes several weeks from now.
What's the total cost of the program or of the insurance?
1.7 for the
Yeah,
training.
$795
Yeah,
this year,
$795 per year.
yeah. May have been less last year.
So
You guys know off the top of your head how much fireworks cost?
A lot.
Expensive, yeah.
They're pricing.
I thought it was like was it 300?
No, that was for the whole, all of our.
That was for all of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew that there was like a 300 or 400 number in my head, but that
Oh.
was,
Like 48,000 at one time, but I don't know if they had like two installments, if that was the whole, just for the fireworks themselves,
Got
not
it.
for everything.
Right, well, last year we did it twice, so there was the event on the bridge and then the.
The bridge
4th of
and
July.
4th, yeah.
the bridge was paid for by the capital project, though. That didn't come out of our events budget.
100 grand would not surprise me.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so, if it's 795 total with like 10%, which would be screaming, a screaming deal to get like 10% off, discount would be, 80,000. So that would be great, but that would probably unlikely that you'll get that much
Maybe get.
savings.
I just.
Oh yeah, this is this is added costs.
Yeah, I would just throw the other is, as we're raising revenues in one way, we can educate people on how to save money in the process, then for the residents themselves that are willing to learn something, comes out as hopefully a net zero.
What is it? Regressive. Thanks. Okay. I don't know.
Fireworks will really.
I mean, eliminate events was a $300,000 line.
All of it.
I'm not advocating that, I'm just saying that's what it was. It was like 10 events at like 35,000 a piece or something.
Yeah, so we'll do,
I was
event
opposed to that.
approximately, I
She wrote, because I know she helps with them.
think it was 400,000.
Yeah, even wrote that one down, I think.
Do we have up here yet that donations idea?
Mhm.
Is it already in here?
It was, I didn't, I kind of glossed past it.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of get through the list, see if there were any more, and then jump back to see if we could fill out some of the details.
Actually, may not realize, so some of those special events, actually, that's when our, emergency management folks actually practice.
Hmm.
So that when something major does happen, they already had opportunities to, instead of just a couple exercises a year. They've had opportunities to, use their radios, scope things out, look for lost kids,
Got it.
assist, medics.
Plus, we're gonna talk of the east side, but I'm not even
There
joking.
was a lot of people there from like Lake City and all over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're the only game left in town.
Rob mentioned cutting down the newsletter, and I thought that he had an approximate cost
did
of
have-
how
I
much
don't
it
remember.
costs to run that each quarter.
9,000. He was gonna cut it in half, I was gonna save 18,000.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Over the
right.
biennium, I don't think it's 9,000 a year.
Oh, 9,000 a year. I don't know what this biennium stuff is. I think,
Let's get used.
yeah, I think in terms of annual, everything's
Yeah.
annual. Okay, so, what other ideas do we have that haven't been captured?
I have one,
Let's hear it.
we have a handout.
Oh, exciting.
And that.
Oh, lovely lift.
Levy lid lift to fund public safety. The reason we're here is that King County is raising the cost of public safety services they provide to Kenmore. By and large, that's the largest reason we're going into debt. There's nothing we can do about it. By state law, we can't raise our property taxes enough to offset that. As a result, by 2030, we won't be maintaining our reserve to 20% in the general and street fund. My idea to discuss is that voters should be asked to approve a 6-year single purpose levy lid lift for public safety. My calculations, which are subject to error, say that if we have a 4 cent per $1,000 assessed value levy lid lift, will generate 1.7 million over 6 years. The median impact, the household impact for the median house is 820, so the median house in Kenmore would pay $33 per year, or about $200 over the 6 years. and we generate $1.7 million.
It's
Leaving
such
it
a
with
big amount, I
20%.
had to expand the column.
Leaving us with a 20% reserve and 20/30 if you combine general fund and street fund.
Nice. And it sounds so reasonable.
We're done.
No. My point is, it's the cop prices are the main reason this is happening,
And
inflation and the cop prices.
So,
Let's
Yeah.
tie the solution to the problem.
But
Let's
the
not,
good lift has a lifespan of 6 years.
right,
Yeah,
yeah, in 6 years, we gotta figure out where we are again, for sure.
yeah.
Cause that's the way that watch.
that step up and then.
Well, this
It's not-
generates obviously a surplus of cash in the beginning when we already have a surplus.
Doesn't change the slope, but yeah. Okay, so that's
Could we-
gonna be a medium or a medium low on potential success because we have to go to the voters, right?
Is that a rubric we're using, that going to the voters is low success?
Yeah, because of
It's just
the,
unknown success, right?
well, it's, I
It's
mean,
not assured.
compared to, if you're rating it on a scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 is, or, high is the council can just vote and it's done. Whereas,
Easiness of getting it done. Okay, I got you.
exactly, yeah,
You haven't met one person since I've been tossing this around yet who said I wouldn't pay $35 for the cops.
Sure.
Another possibility for this though also would be if we have another high ticket, like another Cape camera, or red light camera or whatever, that we reduce the levy to a more palatable sum. And
Well, I mean, 4 cents is nothing.
I know, but
We're talking.
you say that.
I get a feeling also that people would be more willing to have 4 cents per thousand than have another speed camera. Even for those who drive really, really
I
slow.
have no idea whether that's true or not true.
No, this is a vibe I'm getting from social media.
Technically, the cameras cannot be used to fund the police anyway. So yes, it all gets washed in the general fund, but it's actually illegal for us to take the camera money and pay the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
So we can take it and clean the parks.
it's all fungible.
But now the speed cameras, like that left turn camera going up 61st, a lot of that is capturing funds from the non-residents,
Sure.
whereas this would only be for the resident.
That is true.
Sure. And I am a super slow driver. I have no issue. I'm aware, however, that on social media, there is a blockade that done against high speed, red light cameras and speed cameras, even for people who consider themselves to be slow drivers. So I think this would seem much more palatable to at least those people.
And I think there is an education component that basically says, our costs are going up because King County's costs are going up because our insurance is going up. Effectively, and I'm making this up, though.
Yeah. And the
We're subsidizing
and the-
areas where there's more sheriff's activity and the insurance costs related to places where thankfully we don't have as much,
So can we all share that burden?
but we are sharing that burden, right?
Yeah.
and
We're sharing that burden.
which is,
Cover the gap of
Do we
sharing.
wanna cut the fireworks to share the burden,
Yeah,
or do we wanna
exactly.
cough up $35?
and the cameras, which are,
Exactly.
it's like saying, well, you can't choose to them not have a camera. It's like you cannot choose them not to have a gun. They're gonna have both, therefore.
Last year when they were 20.
Yeah, no, that's also a big part of it.
Believe, I can still continue to,
You can edit this and add.
it's just ongoing
Yep,
now,
yep.
right? Okay.
I think even if I made a math mistake, I still think there's value in having a dedicated public safety fund.
Really appreciate this piece. It's clear,
Mm.
it's smart.
It's reasonable.
Again, I only put my name on it for responsibility, not because I'm trying to like own it.
No?
I offer it to the group and.
We're putting you out
The
front.
key-
No, I like it. Anytime where we can tie the revenue to like
Mm.
a specific thing, especially because public safety is 30% of the general fund, it makes sense to,
Yeah, and yes, we're gonna need to go through it again in 6 years. But
But-
we've now set the precedent that we as a community, it's not a parks district, it's a public safety
Well,
thing.
actually, the precedent, I would say, was set by the school districts, which operates not fully funded, which still blows my mind. But because why would you? But therefore, hey, the same way school district is not funded, public safety is not fully funded. Therefore, we regularly need levies for funding it fully.
You bring a good point.
The annual impact's only, is not 1.7.
For a voter, like, I'd rather vote for school, because school's not funded, right, that direct, but then they actually, because of McCleary decision, they can do a levy
Mhm.
on local taxes, so it's, I mean,
Well, they can do it, they just can't do a large one.
yeah, exactly, so, like, I mean, standalone, this is a great idea. In reality, I think it's actually low success rate right now, especially the climate where we're sit. There are quite a few budget shortfall, so, but like ideally, this is great, like I'd rather have specific funding for specific purpose, so.
And it's with such a light police force, that takes up such a big amount. It's not like Kenmore is hyper police to begin with. So
That's the greater good, right? We're part of this consortium of cities that we're low usage, but we're paying into it.
Yeah,
in the
but
cost, that kind
no.
of like healthcare, like,
no, absolutely. But therefore, if we were hyper policed with 50 cops to every resident, etc., what you want to fund even more police, that might be less palatable. Whereas here it's, wait, we have the bare minimum for Kenmore because we are a low crime city. They are, however, a big part of our budget. Are you okay to spend 4 cents per thousand? Sure. We're not, there's not the context of we're already paying too much for police because we have too much police. Because-
Well, let's make sure we put it on the balancing act and see what people say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
E37 should be, the annual is 278,320.
Oh, 1.7 million
6 years.
over the course. Okay, so it's 278.
Okay,
That would have been nice.
we can do 20 cents.
this being a levy, It
Honestly,
would only require-
like it's one of those things where, oh, sorry, go ahead.
so with this being a levy, it would only require the 50% plus one person, right? Okay.
If you're gonna do it, sometimes it's better to like, what's the difference between 4 cents and 8 cents?
Yeah, might as well go.
$35 versus $70 added, so.
4 gets us back to the 20%, so
Over,
at
yeah,
the 6-year mark.
yeah,
So
so
in
like,
that case, maybe we do go with 2 options in the balancing act tool, 4 cents and 8 cents. And then afterwards, the 8 cents gets us more stuff and it's not that our reserves are even bigger, it's just we have that viability over a longer period of time because we can spread out those revenues, not over 6 years, but maybe over 12 years.
and the nice thing, like having it as an option on balancing act means that they can choose to increase that and not increase, not put the photo enhancement or photo enforcement, or something else, so.
Right.
Are we adding any incremental items to the balancing act? Like last time we had the housing program and the climate action plan as 2 potential,
New expenditure. thing.
yeah. No, okay.
So do you want me to do 4 and 8 on the levy lid?
You were gonna do what, sorry?
Yeah, I think that.
4 cents and
4 cents and 8 cents.
2 options, okay.
Do we want to do 4 and 8 or 4 and 6?
I will abstain, whatever you all want, I'm happy to.
4 and 6. Each is single.
It's
Sure.
$35 or $70 or $35 or 50. I think let's do 4 and 6.
Yeah.
That seems
And I think-
reasonable.
Yeah, and if this were to get implemented, it's one of those where, okay, we can estimate it's gonna be 4 and 6 cents, but then it's actually like we're just authorizing like a certain amount, right? And then it gets divided up, so it's usually gonna be slightly less depending on.
And there is cost expensive to do the
Right,
ballot
yeah.
measure.
Yeah.
Depending on, when they do it.
It's not cost neutral.
Okay. Any other ideas? We've got a pretty good list. I feel like there's plenty here to choose from to solve the problem. So, so maybe prioritizing getting the dollars
For the stuff we already have.
for and kind of assessing potential success when it would be implemented. Because you've got this starting in 2025, but is that realistic? Like, you know, like that's the other
It's gotta
thing.
be 25 or it's 27. Right? Yeah, and I know it's not a lot of time to get to the ballot in November.
Well,
There's some that have done it like in a couple of months and got stuff through. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Just
Well,
thump on
there's-
that gas pedal.
Which ballot you put it on too. You know what, next year, so the next February ballot, there will not be a school district one, because that's every 4 years.
Do we want to, we talked, like Mike emailed about monetizing some of the city's land and properties.
I forwarded that email to the listener.
So
monetizers and sell out or?
lease it.
Lease
You
it.
know, so you
Okay.
say, we've got this plot of land, you can develop on it, we're gonna keep
Sure.
the land, we're not gonna sell it to you. So instead of doing Plymouth, where we were gonna give away the land, we would say, you can develop on it.
Yeah.
And you have a right.
No, that's perfect. I just wanted to connect because last time we had a conversation of sell versus rent, and I think everybody was in accordance of saying rent.
Rent, yeah.
So I just want to make sure what monetized was, and I.
And also, which one did they own that is not already marked for,
For another project.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think pretty much, I mean, they have a lot of property up and down 73rd between 192nd, line, I think. But I think most of it are probably already targeted for, the migration of Swamp Creek. And for the next beaver dam.
I was at the Love Where You Live event, and there's all this excitement and discussion around Lake Point. And so that's undeveloped land, it's privately owned currently, and so would the city have to purchase that land? Like, I guess there's this potential for, if we did a ballot measure to purchase that land with debt, and then we facilitate the development of it and then get the lease income. It's all gonna be a much longer term, but I think it's worth kind of putting on.
The last time, I mean, the permit's been out since 1989 or 1998 to develop it, and it keeps failing because it's an old landfill, is my understanding. And last time Windermere came by, was it 2 years ago? And they did the whole assessment, they came up 150 million short on their viability.
Yeah, there's been like 3 different developers that have gone through there.
When was
did
that?
all their studies, and they said,
4 years ago?
I
And then
mean,
it's been- yeah.
property values have gone up, so. I guess it depends on how much.
They have to, I put in some, they have to put in steel piers every freaking foot to stabilize that land, but
Right,
it is the last piece of land on Lake Washington.
yeah,
I feel from the conversations in the other workshop I went to, is that the intent would be to secure a grant to be able to buy the border, make the border a park, and therefore up the value, do a kind of a buffer zone between Lake Washington and the Sammamish River and the actual Lake Point buildable area, and therefore up the property value, and then the Windermere's of the world would come and build there because it would be worthwhile. I don't know the modeling for that, but I think that's the latest consideration.
yeah, that's a lot of
A lot of ifs.
There were some really
Yeah,
pretty
Till
drawings.
the earthquake hits and that land builder.
There were some really pretty drawings.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Is there any other land that is not on the lake, but any other undeveloped land? I know Rob has his eyes on several patches that he gets excited about, waiting for people to sell, but is there anything else that,
Cozy Inn, is one we have. Cozy Inn property.
but there's the ones that we have, and then I'm just thinking of any other parcels that the city could purchase with either with debt or with other kinds of funding and turn into changing the slope.
The ones the only ones I can think of are the low density, very low density along 522 between Kenmore Lanes and Safeway. There's a church which has a sprawling parking lot.
Yeah.
Kenmore Lanes
Saint
has a
Vincent's.
sprawling parking lot. All of those areas are low construction, and have really big space associated with them. I don't know if they're on the market or whatever, but those are the only ones I can think of.
So Via Roma is gonna be, what, 38 townhouse units? That's the latest I've heard on that one.
But that's all private. It's all private transactions.
Yes.
Okay. Any other ideas? I feel like I want to put some kind of economic development on here.
When they were talking about the, Lake Point property, because it's really not that viable for like a big retail establishment. But what I had mentioned was that, next door to that is Kenmore Air, and then next door to that's a big marina. Is if they were to develop it as like a marina and then swap properties with the person that actually has the existing marina. And then, because their land is actually capable of being more than just a marina, whereas Lake Point maybe. that may
Maybe
be as
marina
good
is
as
the
it gets.
best, yeah. No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wanna turn it into a giant dog park. That's my economic development idea too, by the way.
That's
Yeah.
super monetizable.
It's
Yeah.
very more.
Those
very more-
dogs buy a lot of coffee and
Oh, sure.
And
Dog
then
biscuit?
we'll have the
You're totally
veterinary
looking at
hospital.
the dog.
And the compost.
Right,
economy.
absolutely,
Yeah, and then we'll have the vet clinics from all the diseases that the dogs get from the flu.
right? I mean, yeah.
I've scuba dived in that flu, you can't even see your hand in front of your face, it's that bad.
I'd like to hear more about that.
In a dry suit, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, the only part that I know also is unfortunately marshy, and it's next to Lawali's Park on the part that's being restored currently. Between the park that's currently being restored and the Sammamish River, there's a big strip of what I think is very boggy. So I don't know how constructible it is, but that's the only other one I can think of.
yeah. I feel like one of the thing when we talked about for the last time, we talked about economic development, and it was one of those things where we went through all the options and we're like, A, this is tough. You know, you have to get a Windermere, you have to get these to come in and partner with you. And B, even if you did have partner, it's not coming for 5 years, which is outside of the scope. So I wonder if rather than calling something out specific that we include in our report, so like this concept, basically Mike's email, and just say, hey, like all of the solutions that we're coming up with, levy lid lifts or increasing these taxes, like there's not much of these that change the slope. So the way that we change the slope is by these kinds of things. So here's our what we set out to do, which is this specific time horizon, and then we have sort of a qualitative recommendation to say, you know, when we're considering Lake Point development, when we're seeing this other development in our city, is there a way that the city can participate, not just to like drive the strategy and kind of like, you know, how the downtown looks and those kinds of things, but also to get in on the kind of growth that changes the slope a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll confess, I haven't read the master plan in a while, but the last time I read it, which is probably 6 or 7 years ago now, the strategy was the city was gonna focus north of 522 with its dollars and was gonna leave south of 522, the lumber yards and the lake points to the free market.
Yeah.
Was what I remember it being, was an intentional choice, that became the hangar and the center here.
But at the same time, I know that Monday, the city council is having the planning commission present, changing enforcing more of an economic focus
Hmm.
for the entire city. So maybe there are some
Maybe.
elements there.
Time check, we're 15 minutes past.
I have a bunch of joke ideas, but they shouldn't be on.
If your dog park idea is any indication.
Can put it in.
Can you go kind of action items from where we are, because there's a lot going on, so,
Yeah.
So for, well, so guiding principles, Holly's not here, but she said she would work on that and she'll send something out, so we need to wrap that up, so you guys can be thinking about those things as you're talking about solutions. So for the town hall, in this presentation, I don't know if you
Yep.
wanna start taking a stab at that
Oh, it's more than taking a step. We need to have it finalized by next meeting.
and share it out or
Yeah.
whatever, okay.
Anybody want to be a buddy on this?
I've used PowerPoint before.
Yeah.
I can help you.
All right, Katrina and Edward,
Thank
and
you. Good night.
thank you.
Happy to give it to you.
Sure.
Okay, and Ben, three of you, three musketeers, I am working on, or four, sure. I am working on updating the expenses on the balancing act, I will add in the levy lid lift. What else? What was I gonna say? I saw somebody sent a question already, yay, whoever did that, I couldn't tell who did it, but somebody sent a question to, EHQ. So let's get more of those coming in, and whenever we can, you'll do your video. The next
You
meeting,
don't want you don't want a tutorial of doing it. You want like a person doing it or
yeah,
both.
kind of both,
I
yeah,
can do both.
just kind of,
Okay.
yeah, showing, just showing how easy it is. This is how you log in, this is where you go,
Cool.
this is how you do it, click on these things to balance your budget, and look, it's balanced, voila.
This I can do.
What, I need to know what, costs we need to gather, so is it possible for Jeff or somebody to summarize what is needed out of that spreadsheet, so I don't have to go digging around?
I can do that.
That'd be helpful. I could just get like a simplified, even if it's just a cut of those ones out of the thing that I need to.
Yep.
Me or staff work on those numbers,
Mission tax was one of them.
admission or lodging? I thought it was lodging.
Both.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, admissions, we have a.
That's right, lodging.
Lodging is,
Yeah. I put that in there, that was on-
And
okay, so. What else? So we're meeting again next week,
yes,
But back on Wednesday.
back on Wednesday, here,
bad times, bad day.
and that's the 20th, right? So Rob will not be there. The date, and we can all have a moment of silence.
Yes.
Think about that. Is there anything else that I'm not thinking of that we need to clarify tonight?
So I really, like the way the spreadsheet works, and it really helps to, but just based on my own previous experiences, I'm very much into like, we wanna make sure that like one person, like something happening doesn't take down the whole group. So I just wanna say for this task force, and then for any futures, do we have permission to continue using your spreadsheet?
Of course,
Okay, good.
yes.
You're a small price.
I don't know where she was going with that.
Is it subscription based or seat-based? Watch out for yourself, man. It's a revenue source.
Not that we're planning on firing her, but in case something happens.
No, I have an opening, I don't know if you wanna take.
Yeah, I'll just.
I was thinking.
But yeah, but I do.
It's okay. I already have a full-time and a part-time job with my current role. It's combo pack.
But if you don't know anybody, it's open.
Okay, so, drafting a presentation for the town hall.
Yeah.
Wordsmithing the guiding principles, I am going to get you a list of, summarized list of staff requests. Related to, budget strategies. And was there anything else for us? Questions, add questions to speak up Kenmore.
Easy, easy questions.
I gave you a very,
And balance for the balancing act tool.
And I'm gonna send out the link again when the balancing act is ready, so, Monday, hopefully Monday or Tuesday.
I think we have on engagement HQ that it's gonna be launched tomorrow.
I know, we do.
Okay.
but we have objectives on the
We can
agenda
change that.
for,
We have what?
yeah, yeah, sorry, I was thinking. I was just watching what you were showing.
And it was Holly that was gonna do the, yeah.
The guiding principles. Thanks, you guys. You guys are so good. This is really great. This is like the most fun think I've ever done directly related to my work and my career. It really is.
You need to
honestly.
organize more team events with your team, that's all I'm saying.
You know, and you're so engaged and have such great conversation, questions, thoughtfulness. It's really a highlight for me, so I love it.
Are we adjourning? We can stop.
Oh, yeah, stop. Kudos.